Welcome to Neural Wings, your source for Kalamazoo Wings game analysis and predictions, brought to you by absolutely no one. I'm your host, Ano, here to recap the last week of K-Wings hockey and what's ahead for the red, white, and blue. Central Division Update. The 2025-26 regular season has reached its dramatic and, unfortunately, final conclusion for the K-Wings. The Central Division standings have officially solidified following the final horn on Sunday, leaving a landscape that is as impressive as it is heartbreaking. The Fort Wayne Komets claimed the regular season division title, finishing at the top of the mountain with 100 points and a formidable record of 45-17-10-0. They are followed closely by the Toledo Walleye, who secured the second seed with 98 points and an overall record of 43-17-7-5. Both heavyweights have spent the last month jockeying for position, and they now head into the Kelly Cup playoffs as the clear teams to beat in the Western Conference. The real story, however, lies in the battle for those final two postseason berths, which turned into an absolute war of attrition. The Bloomington Bison and the Indy Fuel both managed to cross the finish line with 79 points. Bloomington secured the third seed with a final record of 37-32-3, while Indy claimed the fourth and final spot with a record of 34-27-10-1. Our Kalamazoo Wings finished just a single agonizing point behind them in fifth place, ending the campaign with 78 points and a final record of 36-33-3. It is a bitter pill to swallow for a team that fought back from the bottom of the division earlier this year to put themselves in a position to control their own destiny on the final night of the season. The math of this finish is particularly cruel when you look at the what-if scenarios that dominated the conversation heading into the weekend. Even if the Wings had managed to force overtime against Fort Wayne on Sunday and earned that single point to reach a 79-point tie with Bloomington and Indy, the postseason was far from a guarantee. While Kalamazoo actually held a higher regulation win count, 35, than both Bloomington, 33, and Indy, 28. The ECHL's multi-team tiebreaker rules are notoriously complex. Depending on the head-to-head records and the order in which teams are eliminated from the tie, that extra point might still have left us on the outside looking in. It highlights just how thin the margin for error was. In a division this competitive, the difference between a championship run and an early summer often comes down to a single bounce or a lone point left on the table in October or November. Seeing the season end on a one-goal loss in a win-and-in scenario is the ultimate heartbreak, but it serves as a stark reminder of the level of excellence required to survive the Central. Game Recaps. April 17, 2026. Away win at Cincinnati Cyclones. Score 5-4. The final weekend kicked off with a high-octane thriller at the Heritage Bank Center. The Wings jumped out to a dominant start, building a 3-0 lead behind goals from Nolan Walker, Zach Okabe, and Colin Bielik. Cincinnati mounted a furious comeback in the third, eventually knotting the game at 4. But Jackson Kunz delivered the late-game heroics by netting the game winner with just 15 seconds remaining. Aku Koskenvuo was under siege for much of the night, turning aside 40 of 44 shots to secure the crucial 2 points. April 18, 2026. Away win at Cincinnati Cyclones. Score 4-1. Kalamazoo maintained their momentum the following afternoon with a clinical defensive performance to sweep the set in Cincinnati. Quinn Preston opened the scoring in the first, followed by second-period tallies from Jackson Kunz and Nick Poisson. Greg Japchin effectively ended any hope of a Cyclones comeback with a late empty net goal. The team played a much more disciplined game overall, and Koskenvuo was nearly perfect in net, stopping 26 of 27 shots to earn second-star honors. April 19, 2026. Away loss at Fort Wayne Comets. Score 3-4. The regular season culminated in a win-and-in showdown in front of over 10,000 fans at the Memorial Coliseum. After falling behind 2-0 early, the Wings showed incredible heart as Zach Okabe and Colin Sakoman equalized before the first intermission. Nick Poisson tied the game again in the second, setting the stage for a tense final frame. Ultimately, the season-ending blow came from a familiar face. Former K-Wing Josh Bloom capitalized on a third-period power play to net the game winner. Jonathan Lemieux made 24 saves in the start, but the Wings couldn't find the late equalizer to extend their campaign. Performance analysis. The final week of the 2025-26 season provided a microcosm of the K-Wings' entire campaign. Moments of elite brilliance shadowed by tactical inconsistencies. Offensively, we witnessed the absolute arrival of the young guns. Jackson Kuntz and Zach Okabe were nothing short of spectacular, combining for 4 goals and 5 assists over the 3-game stretch and proving they can carry the offensive load in high-pressure environments. The late-season addition of Nick Poisson from the AHL also paid immediate dividends, as he found the back of the net in consecutive games, providing the kind of veteran-like poise that nearly pushed this team over the playoff line. However, the win-and-in finale in Fort Wayne exposed several recurring tactical flaws that plagued the team during critical stretches. We saw a regression in 5-on-5 structure, where the Wings began overcommitting men on the forecheck. Frequently, 2 players would dive deep to battle for puck control with a lone defender at the blue line, leaving the high slot and Main Street completely vacant. This lack of net front presence meant that even when the Wings successfully won the battle, there was nobody in position to capitalize on the feed or bury a rebound. This issue was compounded by a lack of puck management discipline, as several key players were seen overhandling the puck in the offensive zone. Instead of taking the simple shot or making the decisive pass, they held on just a second too long, often resulting in stripaways that fueled the Comets' transition game. Special teams also proved to be the ultimate decider. While the short-handed threat of Ryan Cox was a highlight earlier in the month, the power play went cold when it mattered most, finishing 0 for 4 in the finale, while Fort Wayne capitalized on 2 of their 4 opportunities. Goaltending also reached its limit. Aku Koskenvo carried a monumental workload by starting 17 out of 18 games to get us into this position. But the reliance on him to stop 40-plus shots nightly was a strategy with a shelf life that finally ran out. While it is undeniably fun to watch this roster showcase its high-end skill, this final weekend served as a harsh lesson that being good is less effective than being disciplined in April. We will provide more full-season analysis in future episodes during the off-season. Roster moves. The Wings' front office was active until the final hours to give the team its best shot at the postseason. On Tuesday, Jonathan Lemieux returned to the roster after being reassigned by the Abbotsford Canucks. Wednesday saw the team place defenseman Brendan Dowler on team suspension as they solidified the defensive rotation. The most significant tactical shift occurred on Friday, April 17th, when the Wings received a major boost with the assignment of forward Nick Poisson from Abbotsford. Poisson's arrival triggered a series of corresponding moves. Colson Gengenbach was moved to the 3-day IR, and Orlando Minolfi was transferred to the 14-day IR. To find the right chemistry for the Cincinnati trip, the team also activated Colin Bielik and Nolan Walker from the reserve list, while moving Cam Knuble and David Kiefer to reserve status. Affiliate Update. The Abbotsford Canucks concluded their season with a late-season surge that saw them move up to ninth place in the AHL's Pacific Division, finishing with a record of 26-37 and 4-3. While they also faced the disappointment of missing the postseason, the developmental gains within the pipeline were undeniable. Goaltender Ty Young emerged as a legitimate professional prospect, finishing his rookie campaign with his first professional shutout and back-to-back wins. The successful integration of players like Riley Patterson and the brief but impactful stint of Nick Poisson before his assignment to Kalamazoo suggests that the organizational depth is in a much healthier place than it was last autumn. The synergy between Abbotsford and Kalamazoo was a lifeline all year, especially in the crease, where the constant rotation of goaltenders kept both clubs competitive despite numerous injuries. It is never easy to see the lights dim at the Wings Event Center for the last time in a season, particularly when the finish line is just one single point away. From the season ticket holders who fill the arena to the growing community on Discord, this has been a 2025-26 campaign defined by incredible resilience. We watched this team climb from the basement of the Central to within seconds of a playoff berth, led by the short-handed wizardry of Ryan Cox, the brick wall performances of Aku Koskenvuo, and the steadfast leadership of Captain Sakoman. Thank you for tuning in to Neural Wings every week throughout this journey. We will be taking a short break before we dive into our deeper off-season analysis. It has been a pleasure being your host for this season, and I hope for many more to come. Well, that's it for today. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and tell a friend. It helps out more than you know. I'm Ano, and this is Neural Wings. Let's go, K-Wings.